With Captain Marvel out this weekend, I wanted to do this video and talk about the top 3 reasons I love the MCU. How about you? What are the top 3 reasons that you love the MCU? Let's talk in the comments. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my top 3 reasons that I love the MCU. With Captain Marvel around the corner, I thought this is the perfect time to bring this up, because right after Captain Marvel, like a month or so, we got Endgame. Oh my gosh, it's so freaking exciting. So I thought I would tell you my top 3 reasons for why I love the MCU, and then I want to hear from you for sure of your reasons why you love the MCU in the comments below. So kicking it off at number 1, the universe building. Yeah, this one is probably the most obvious, but it's true. Building a cinematic universe is not easy. You've only to look at what happened with DC and all the troubles that they had behind the scenes. Or, how about another example? Take a look at Universal and the dark universe that they wanted to build and how that didn't get past one movie. Building a cinematic universe is an incredibly difficult thing because you have all these characters with their own franchises that now you take and bring together, and then that movie's got to be special in its own right because each hero can't outshine the other. Each character can't do that because everybody's come to love these characters for different reasons, and I feel like Marvel has found the formula that works for them and works for their characters, and they are doing a fantastic job. The fact that they've taken their time. When you get into phase 1 and you have these characters having their own movies, Iron Man getting 2, by the time you got to the Avengers, it was so exciting to see their worlds collide and to see them all come together. And when the Avengers is over, what happens? We get more solo movies getting to know Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor better. Yeah, that Thor Dark World was pretty weak, but it was still, you know, it's Chris Hemsworth as Thor, so it still had its own element of strength. Then we got introduced to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Then we get these characters back together. After that, we get introduced to a whole slew of new characters. In Civil War, they bring them back together while introducing us to Black Panther and a newly rebooted Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Hey everyone.
So they've done a really good job of finding all the reasons to bring these characters together. And a universe that is ever getting smaller, they find good reasons to keep them in solo movies so that we get to know these characters and their own adventures a little bit better, so it's that much more compelling as soon as they're brought back together. And so Marvel just does a fantastic job taking its time, building these characters, giving us films that attach us to these characters so we get to know their world, and then we find it really cool when their worlds combine. On top of the fact, Avengers onward, we have been building up the Infinity Stones, the 6 Infinity Stones, all the way up to Infinity War. So we get now to what we have in Infinity War and Endgame, and the payoff is just amazing. The way they linked everything together in Infinity War was just genius, and now we're all on the edge of our seats waiting for Endgame. Number 2, characters that are larger than life and down to earth. And they're easy to follow, and their struggles, they're easily relatable. I mean, let's take Thor. Let's just take Thor for a second here. Here's a character that is larger than life. And apparently a lot of people found his first movie kind of weak. They found his second movie really weak and loved his third movie. I thought the first movie was the strongest in the trilogy, the second movie the weakest, and the third movie I thought, yeah, it was okay. It just had no balance between the weight of the story and the slapstick humor. I know, please don't hate me in the comments for saying that. I love the first Thor. But that's my point. No matter how you think about Thor, or how you think about his solo movies, you know Chris Hemsworth owns that role. The dude is fantastic in that role, and he's relatable. So you have a larger-than-life character who stumbles over his own pride and loses all of his powers and becomes this down-to-earth character and has to learn humility in order to take up Mjolnir again. I mean, you have Thor, the Dark World, where he's trying to make it work with Jane. They take, again, a larger-than-life character and bring him down to these things that make sense, these quarrels between him and his brother, how much he hates his brother, and then, oh, his brother's dying in his arms, how much he loves his brother, and then you finally get into the third one, and my gosh, it's the same thing again. Through all the slapstick humor and all the stuff that's going on, he's an incredibly relatable character. Through his highs, through his lows, through his entire character arc, and no matter what he's going through, he is a Norse god and larger than life, but he's very human and his struggles make sense to us. It's like Tony Stark, and this is more of a down-to-earth character because he's an earthling and he's dealing with alcoholism, so he has an addiction that he's battling. And finally, he sees what his legacy is and that the bad guys are taking these weapons that he's creating, and now he wants to change his life and change his legacy, which means he has to face down his demons. So as you go through Iron Man 3, it's amazing to watch his arc and then to watch him continue to grow throughout the Avengers movies. So Iron Man is a superhero, larger than life, crazy technology in that suit, and yet Tony Stark is so human. I just picked 2 characters and dove in, but you could dive into all of these characters and see their larger than life aspect, but you can also see that very human core of their very relatable triumphs and stumbles that we can all relate to. And number 3, the payoff. The payoff has been fantastic thus far. Granted, Endgame will be the official payoff of these, this last decade of what they've been building, especially with those original 4 core heroes. But man, Infinity War was an incredible payoff in of itself, even if it ended on a massive cliffhanger. It was a great payoff because we had been building towards this war. We had been building towards finding all 6 Infinity Stones. We had seen glimpses of Thanos here and there, and then as soon as Thanos appears on screen, oh my gosh, that dude. He, again, like I said, he's a larger than life character, and yet, even though he's evil and you can already see the mess up in his brain, if you have all the stones and you could fix reality, double the amount of resources in the universe. Don't kill half of life. I mean, it's kind of obvious, so you know he's evil, but there's a point where it's like, oh, I understand his logic. It's horrible, and I will never side with it, but I get it. And it's weird how they did that. They brought you into this character and made a fantastic, wicked villain out of him. Josh Brolin did an amazing job in that role, so all that build up to Thanos paid off. And then taking like Guardians and all these characters that had not been brought into the Avengers before, Doctor Strange and all that, and pulling it all together in a way that makes sense. It was sheer genius. So even though we don't even yet have the conclusion to it, just that movie itself was a fantastic payoff of an entire decade of hero building and universe building, and it's just so exciting to see what are we going to get in Endgame and what's going to happen beyond in Phase 4. What will they build towards next? So for me, those are the top 3 things that I love about the MCU and how it's just pulled me into its universe. What do you think of the MCU? What are your top 3 reasons for loving it? Let's talk in the comments. While you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian. Hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for my next theological analysis, ranking video, movie review, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.